In terms of the creation of the film, this project and the core of the graphics I will talk about later. Actually, these two projects are harder than the mascots because colors and graphics are very abstract. If we use the same technique to explain specification, maybe it's hard for us to understand, so let alone to convey the connotations to international friends. Therefore, let's focus on the director's design. He used a lot of traditional Chinese color elements as a breakthrough point when cutting into the theme. A sand painting demonstration comes first, with the classic landmarks of Hangzhou, Westlake, and the Qianjiang New Town. The cool colors of Westlake were in sharp contrast to the warm colors of Qianjiang New Town. Then it turned to the traditional Chinese drama, Yue opera. Well, Yue opera originated in the Yangtze River Delta in the Hangzhou of Shaoxing. The Yue opera is the second largest opera in China, known as the second national opera, also known as the most widely spread local opera, known as Chinese opera abroad. So at that time, a teacher of Yue opera gave me makeup. In terms of the color and tone of the makeup, it also includes a lot of Asian Games colors. I don't know whether it is sort of like coincidence or Mr. Guo also drew inspiration from opera makeup. We also met Guo Jingyong, the color system designer of the Hangzhou Asian Games, deputy director of the comprehensive design department of the School of Design and Art of China Academy of Art. In front of the stage, which is full of oriental charm and the style of the Yangtze River Delta, Mr. Guo told me that color is a very unique visual expression language. It is emotional and it can tell a story, just like poetry. Hangzhou is not only just the capital of poems and paintings of Zhejiang, it has the cultural context of the road of the Tang Dynasty, but also represents a typical window into the Oriental aesthetic artistic conception. Therefore, poetry becomes the inspiration of our color creation. For example, the main image of the Asian Games IP color, Rhine Purple Rainbow, is originated from the poem Memories of Jiangnan, written by Mr. Bai Juyi, who was once the mayor of the city of Hangzhou. Purple, the mix of red and blue, is not only the color of gathering and blending, but also the color of vitality and innovation. The rainbow purple, named after rainbow and rhythm, symbolizes the sun and moon shine with the style of the times, which conveys meanings of happiness, auspiciousness, and high spirit, is an important basis for shaping the unique visual image of the Hangzhou Asian Games. The color system harmony of colors for the Asian Games, including glowing red, misty white, while yellow, glimmering blue, and lake and mountain green, are derived from the poems depicting Hangzhou. Therefore, in order to cater to the theme of color, we also selected several places in Hangzhou that reflect the color in autumn. For example, the interview we had with Mr. Guo Jingyong, we picked up the place in Huanglong in Hangzhou. The autumn vegetation here is red, green, and yellow, which is very beautiful. The Qianjiang New City Light Show is a new city card of Hangzhou after the G20 summit in Hangzhou, China in 2016. Well, located in Qianjiang New City, Hangzhou CBD, the lighting show is composed of 700,000 LED lights, which are respectively installed on the facades of 30 high-rise buildings along the core area of Qianjiang New City. It uses modern visual effects such as sound, light, and electricity, coupled with a larger-scale music, a natural landscape, human culture, architecture, Hangzhou logo, and other elements. Texts, lights, and images are displayed on a giant screen composed of more than 30 high-rise buildings along the Qianjiang River, showing the picture of Chinese manner and Jiangnan charm. Well, the old gate of the China Academy of Art had the style of Chinese classical architecture. Of course, I think the most beautiful thing is the night scenery by the Qiantang River in Hangzhou, with the in-depth development of Hangzhou's action to support the river. The center of Hangzhou's night economy is quietly changing, where night economy has also created beautiful scenery in Hangzhou. Well, generally speaking, the director took great pains in choosing the site for this episode. Well, the final success, on the one hand, it comes from refining the theme of the film and make an issue out of color very closely. On the other hand, as media workers, we should also collect and shoot more information in normal times and be familiar with the landmark and the special points around us so as to make a good combination of people and scenery. Well, after talking about the special topic of the Asian Games, color system, let's continue to look at the core graphics of the Asian Games, meeting the world as the theme of the core graphics of the Hangzhou Asian Games is inspired by Hangzhou's silk culture. It is intended to show the characteristics of silk such as elegance, softness, delicacy, and flexibility, and reflect the charm and mind of spreading all-round gentleness and a benefit to the people. Cheng Zhaohui, the designer of the core graphics of the Hangzhou Asian Games and the vice president of the School of Design China Academy of Art, said the core graphic theme implies that the OCA family gather in Hangzhou and Asia's color sports culture can learn from each other through the stage exchange of the Hangzhou Asian Games. So now let's enjoy this episode, Meeting the World. Hello and welcome to the Road to Hangzhou 2022. I'm Yongxin Xiliu Chen. I'll bring you our build-up to the Hangzhou Asian Games with interviews, highlights and interesting stories of the sporting actions. All that is coming up very soon. It is pretty common for international sporting events to have unified core graphics. So what will the core graphics of the 19th Asian Games Hangzhou 2022 be like? Today, I'll take you to unveil the story behind the creation of the Hangzhou Asian Games core graphics, meeting the world, and learn the messages behind it. I'm Yongxin Xiliu Chen. I'm the English bidding presenter of the 19th Asian Games Hangzhou 2022 and the English host of HCRT. I will use Hangzhou Asian Games as an opportunity to showcase China's charm to the world. Today I will introduce you to the aesthetics of the Hangzhou Asian Games. The flame of the Asian Games has been passed on to Hangzhou, and the Hangzhou Asian Games is gradually showing its unique colors. The core graphics and color system are the basis of the visual image system for the Asian Games Hangzhou 2022, integrating the elements of sports, Chinese culture. Hangzhou as the host city and international aesthetics are rooted in the history, culture, nature and innovation of Hangzhou. The design of the core graphics and color systems echoes the visual signage of emblem, mascots, slogan and sports pictograms. Altogether, they create the overall atmosphere and underlying aesthetics of the Asian Games Hangzhou 2022. A city will often have its own city flower, local gourmet food, special tourist attractions and much more of these unique cultural identities. We are looking for people to get to know Hangzhou, the city with over 1,000 years of history, in a new way. The core graphic of the Asian Games Meeting the World by designer Cheng Zhaohui is rich in Hangzhou elements. What a fascination is created in a fluttering silk ribbon that strings together Hangzhou's history, culture, and picturesque scenery.
核心图形最大的灵感来源正是杭州最具代表性的本土文化元素丝绸。杭州自古以来有人间天堂、丝绸之府的美誉，也是海上丝绸之路的重要窗口。丝绸、茶叶、瓷器这3种最能代表古代中国的物品，在杭州都可以找到。
The design absorbs both traditional and modern styles to depict the graceful yet flexible, fine yet smooth, gentle yet vibrant traits of silk unfurling in the air. It represents the artistic conception of meeting the world. The flying silk ribbon not only foretells the OCA family's reunion in Hangzhou and the diversified Asian sports culture to be showcased by the Hangzhou Asian Games, but also embodies the symbols and characteristics of the city of Hangzhou.
As we are seeing now, the view of West Lake when it is illuminated by the golden ray of sunrise or sunset is truly dazzling. Hangzhou has been voted China's happiest city in 14 consecutive years. What's the inspiration of your core graphic design?
核心图形最初灵感是5根线条，起草的也是以线条为主。丝韵织线呢，灵感来自于杭州丝绸，展现的是东方人文。 水翼织线展现的是杭州的自然灵韵，代表杭州的水意。平缓的部分呢，是体现柔美的西湖之水。中间富有张力的地方呢，是展现澎湃的钱江之水。结尾处呢，是体现绵长的运河之水。线条的交错呈现杭州的彩墨山水。整个图形的叠合，徐徐展开一卷富有江南韵味和东方诗意的新富春山居图。 我们现在在这片茶山上，后方可以看到西湖，前方可以看到钱塘江。
All the way to Hangzhou, half for Westlake and half for silk. Hangzhou, it is poetic and picturesque, with a deep historical and humanistic heritage. The Chinese Silk Museum under Yuhuang Mountain in Hangzhou records the preservation, heritage, and development of silk. Hangzhou's world heritage, tea and silk, famous mountains and rivers, and gourmet cuisine are intertwined together. These items have also become the signature of the Jiangnan region.
What is happiness in Hangzhou? Everyone has their own definition. But being the happiest city is the highest praise people can give to the place that they stay in.
是的，所以核心图形另一条线就是生态之线。 体现的就是杭州的品质生活。杭州拥有青山绿水，拥有优质的公共服务。杭州是一个年轻人奋斗的舞台。我们在这里追梦、圆梦。每一个工作和生活在这个城市的人都有着最真切的感受。
Throughout the design process, the team was constantly thinking about how to better present the features of the city and how to reflect the more diversified features of the city of Hangzhou. Hangzhou's history and culture, nature and ecology and innovative genes have to be perfectly condensed into the graphics, which is very challenging. But how did Professor Chen manage to reflect all these elements in her design? Hello, Professor Chen.
你好，永新。经过不断的调研和研讨，我们最终确定了山水云丝这几个元素作为我们主要的设计内容。杭州呢还有科技直线，科技直线代表智慧网云，它是体现杭州智慧城市的概念。
One of the most important lines of technology in the core graphic of Hangzhou Asian Games, Meeting the World, is the element representing the Hangzhou elements of intelligence and cloud technologies. Hangzhou is the capital of the internet and the first city of the digital economy. Digital provides the city with unlimited imagination with artificial intelligence, robotics, and the internet.
The much anticipated Hangzhou Asian Games in 2022 will embark the Smart Asian Games mode. So how can a smart era bring together the Asian energy of this top-level event? And how can we host a game that the world will never forget? Well, to find the answers to these questions have also become the top priority for HAGOC.
Over the past 2 years, HAGOC has been actively mobilizing all sectors of society to integrate cultural and innovative technology into every aspect of the Asian Games preparation. We will make sure that the Asian Games will be a successful, exciting and unforgettable sports and cultural event.
核心图形最后一条是运动直线，体现的是亚运的力量。
After intensive and repeated optimization and experimentation by Professor Cheng Chaohui and Guo Jingyong teams, the core graphics meeting the world and color system harmony of colors for the Hangzhou Asian Games was finally unveiled to the world on 21st of October last year.
The countdown to the opening of the Asian Games in Hangzhou is over 600 days away, and the anticipation is growing. Currently, Professor Cheng is leading the design team to lay down the core graphics guidelines. Very soon, we will be able to see meeting the world in different places. It's the fusion of sports, culture and aesthetics. Hangzhou is telling her story of advancing the sports development, urban upgrade and brand value of Asian Games to the world. Through the Asian Games, it can let people get to know Hangzhou, Zhejiang and China. Okay, that's about it from us for this week, but join us the same time in next 2 weeks for more Asian Games fun. Good day. When students see the core graphics, do you feel the stretch and elegant silk ribbon moving from the static to the dynamic and flexibly waving? I believe many students don't know what core graphics are. That's why I'm here. Well, core graphics, initially called auxiliary graphics, originated from the 1996 Atlanta Olympic Games and was listed as the specified element of the Olympic landscape system after the 1998 Nagano Winter Olympic Games in Japan. After 2004 Athens Olympic Games, the IOC officially named the core graphics, which reflects its important significance in the image landscape. For example, do you remember the auspicious clouds, ribbons and the Ruyi dynamic ball of the Beijing Olympic Games? Well, after 12 years, we still remember this visual image, which was the core figure of the Beijing Olympic Games. Well, in this episode, we had the honor to interview Cheng Zhaohui, the vice president and the professor and a doctoral supervisor of the School of Design of China Academy of Art. The flying ribbon shaped not only implies that the OCA family gathers in Hangzhou, and the color and the colorful Asian sports culture learns from each other through the stage exchange of the Hangzhou Asian Games, but also interprets the symbols and characteristics of Hangzhou. The karyotype graphics of the Hangzhou Asian Games released at this time are called moistening, which means moistening the world. Professor Chung said the inspiration of the karyotype graphics of the Asian Games comes from the history and cultural element of Hangzhou, silk. In order to have a better visual experience for international visitors, we especially took Professor Chung to China Silk Museum. The China Silk Museum is located by the Westlake in Hangzhou. It is a national professional silk museum and the largest silk museum in the world. The China Silk Museum shows China's 5,000-year silk history and culture. Here, Professor Chung thoroughly explained the inspiration of the Asian Games, karyotype graphics vividly by combining the history, physical objects, and the production process of silk. At this point, I'd like to share a small scale. Our special topic, the Road to Hangzhou 2022, was different from the traditional news program. It is a new form combining with the special topics, documentaries and interviews. In addition to regular oral broadcasts, there are a lot of interactive elements with guests. The attitudes from guests have a great impact on the final effect of each show of the episode. In this regard, we will deal with it from the 4 aspects to ensure the best state of guests. The first is that the editor and director should give the answers to the guests in advance. The text review mechanism for the Road to Hangzhou 2022 is very strict. We have 7 internal review mechanisms for shooting Chinese texts. After the internal review, the Chinese text will be submitted to the Asian Organizing Committee for the review. And after the Asian Organizing Committee's review, we can send the Chinese to the guests. Therefore, the editor and director will read and consult a lot of materials in the early stage, and we also have in-depth communication with the interviewer, so the interview guests will get the perfect answers before the interview. Second, we are also equipped with a simple word extractor. We will install the word extractor software in the mobile phone and arrange the contents to be read by the guests in advance, so that the guests can answer smoothly during the shooting in front of the camera. Thirdly, the editor and director will also will design the lens with the camera so that the longer interactive dialogue can be divided into several scenes or scenes for performance, which will be more novel in the visual sense. Fourthly is to choose a suitable environment for the interaction, which has been used in the previous shooting of mascots and the color system of the Asian Games. The appropriate scene gives guests a strong sense of substitution, which can let them relax immediately and invest in their familiar fields. At the end of the interview and shooting, Professor Chung also said with emotion that she had been interviewed by many media, and this is the first time she came here to talk about some concepts, and she felt it very much. She was imaginative and devoted. Later we also went to Professor Chung's studio. She personally painted Meeting the World, the core graphic theme of the Hangzhou Asian Games, graphics for us with ink painting. Professor Chung said Rengze is actually a composite figure. There are hand-painted outlines and computer designs in the graphics, the elements are expressed in a variety of ways: sport, light, and surface. The original inspiration was 5 lines, which were mainly lines when drafting. These 5 lines seem random, but they are actually very particular, extracted from the 5 parts that represent Hangzhou in her heart: the silk line, Oriental humanities, water meaning line, natural aura, ecological line, quality life, technology line, smart network cloud, the line of sports, the strength of the Asian Games, where 5 lines overlap to outline the movement of a ribbon flying, while the interweaving of lines forms a surface. The whole graph represents a state of from closed to open, from left to right. According to the ups and downs, can be divided into 3 parts, representing the water meaning of Hangzhou. The gentle part on the left is the gentle water of Westlake. The place with the greatest tension in the middle represents the surging water of Qiantang River, and the end of the right is the water of the Grand Canal. The combination of the whole figure just outlines a new dwelling in Fuchu Mountain. Professor Cheng said that she wanted her design to have the characteristics and expression of the Hangzhou Asian Games. Designers always consider where the breakthrough is when they create their works, but I think the design of the Hangzhou Asian Games needs to be considered and created from the perspective of suitable for the Hangzhou Asian Games. In the core graphics of Meeting the World, Professor Cheng specially designed the pointillism effect presented by the core graphics so that countless color pixels can jump out of shape and blend in the vision. Compared with the core graphics of previous Asian Games, this is the first time to incorporate a special pointillism design, where Hangzhou is the capital of the internet, and we wanted to express this in our design, Professor Cheng said. Well, the dot element is the perfect way to reflect the net cloud. At this point, we also think of Mr. Zhang Wen's mascot design, which is endowed with digital and internet elements. Hangzhou is the first city to put forward the city brain and the first city worthy of the name mobile payment city, the first city to carry out the 5G and IoV pilot and achieve results, the first birthplace of the domestic independent research and development of Feitian super large-scale general cloud computing system, and the first city to put forward the concept of enterprise cloudification. Hangzhou has created the first in many digital economy fields. Moreover, the digital economy has maintained double-digit growth for 23 consecutive quarters, while the digital economy has become a strong engine for Hangzhou's high-quality development. At the same time, Hangzhou is also a city with an internet gene. Smart Hangzhou 2022 will become the most remarkable sparkle and feature of Hangzhou Asian Games. Designers also cleverly put these elements into the design of the Hangzhou Asian Games. From the mascot and the color system to the core graphics of the Hangzhou Asian Games, we included these important topics in the early stage of the program. Through the efforts of the whole crew team, we successfully completed the task of reporting. In sharing my experience in the production process of the program, I hope my sharing can give you some insights into the Hangzhou Asian Games and encourage you to take part in it. Thank you for your time.